Maybe the problem isn't in my pants. Mex-Men.
It seemed like oh, you didn't even need Beyonce. Like, anyone else could have been Nala.
Right.
You could have got the person who actually played Nala.
But I'm sure that also, it's not like Beyonce chose that.
Oh, I'm sure she did. I'm sure it was part of her contract.
Yeah, you know she went after Nala.
I doubt.
Oh, no, I meant that, like, she wanted her song in it.
It's like that thing with
she's
Vin
gonna want her
Diesel
song.
as Groot. You didn't need Vin Diesel.
Yeah, but I think he did that just because he's a fucking nerd.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, they paid a lot for Vin Diesel. They paid a lot for Beyonce. You didn't need either.
I mean, but Vin Diesel also didn't have to record 400 different ways of him saying "I am Groot," and he did that.
Yeah.
So at least they got their money's worth of just those 3 words.
Funny thing about Vin Diesel, he's like a cool guy, right? Quote unquote. But like if you look hard enough, you see the nerd.
He's a tabletop nerd.
Is he?
He's another level. Yeah, he's a D&D nerd.
Like just stare at his face, and the longer you look at it, the more of a nerd he looks.
But Vin Diesel now, it's like now I see it because he's like, I got picked on playing all this D&D. Now I gotta lift weights.
Yeah, Terry Crews is the same way. Terry Crews was a huge nerd who like got picked on all the time. And then I don't think he got picked on, but your favorite guy.
My favorite guy.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Is,
I don't.
Flash Thompson.
Flash time. Oh, Joe
Magniello. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big nerd, and he got all ripped to play a superhero. Nobody offered him the role of a superhero. He got ripped because he wanted to play a superhero.
Yeah. He should totally be Agent Venom. That'd be dope.
That would be fucking awesome. I would take anybody as Agent Venom.
Well, they're not going to do it now because they have the new Flash.
I don't want to get
Thompson.
started
That doesn't make
on.
any sense.
They made him a rich kid.
Yeah.
Flash Thompson shouldn't be rich. His dad will never let him borrow his car. But anyway, welcome to this issue of X-Men. I'm Tony.
I'm Justin.
I'm Devin.
And I'm sad about Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
But in this episode, or this issue of Mex-Men, we're going to be going over all new X-Men issues 12 through 15.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You guys are so good at yes and.
That's a tradition now.
that
You gotta keep it up.
Oh my god.
I switched it up.
You let Justin say it first. That's what
I'll look right at you.
Yeah. And I mean, I technically didn't say yes.
C.
All right. C.
Getting it more Hispanic in
Yeah.
this.
It is Mex-Men over here.
Yeah.
So issue one, issue 1 starts out with Cyclops'
12.
speech. The issue 1 of this arc. It's still issue 1 of this arc. It's
Okay.
issue 12, but it's
Okay.
issue 1 of this arc.
You're gonna do my job now?
You're not doing it.
Give me a chance. We're reveling over the fact that we did something Mexican. He said C. It's Spanish. It's crazy.
You want
Let's
a
call
fucking
back
cookie?
2 minutes. Or 45 seconds ago, we'll do a callback.
You want me to insert the
So
audio
all new
here?
issue 12. Yeah, it starts with Alex watching Cyclops give his speech on so many monitors, because that's how they do it in S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. They have all the monitors for all the things. He needs to see every angle of his brother and stats.
Well, everybody buys their monitors at Costco, so there's like a bundle deal.
This one at least shows different angles, and yeah, you got the stats. The other one was all the same exact image.
Which is funny because,
With
like,
one other.
why
Except
does he
the back
know?
of his head.
Yeah.
They're brothers. They're teammates. He knows all the stuff Scott can do.
Right.
Yeah. Also weird when you consider that he just gave a speech too. Like we find that out later, but like it's almost like he's comparing speeches. Like
He's like, man, he gave a better speech than me. Fuck.
He's not even like upset about it. He's like taking notes for his own speech.
He's embarrassed. He's like, he even threw up the X.
yeah,
He's posing for the camera.
this is
So, goddamn, I was gonna do all of that.
this is the same one where Scott had intercepted with the Avengers because they were going to Tempest's home so that she could see her mom and explain that, like, you know, she's not dead or kidnapped. And the Avengers show up and she makes a time bubble and freezes them. And he sort of has the drop the mic moment. Everyone's still kind of hung up on this. And then Captain America shows up and he's like, I need to talk to you about your brother. And Alex is like, yeah, I know. He's making a show of things. And like, no, seriously. He's like, oh, what did he do now? And that's when he presumably tells him about, like, oh, no, I'm talking about, like, your little big brother who came from the past. And he's all freaking me out with his innocence
Childlike behavior. I don't like children.
And then it cuts to where the issue 11 ended, with them having grounded the X-Men's jet, and they're like in sort of a weird face-off. And Alex is like, "Hey, Scott, how you doing?" He's like, I don't know. Do I know you?" And he's like, "It's me, it's your brother." And he's like, "Oh, shit."
Just gifted voice acting.
You're so old. It's like, what do you think? You're in the future. Everybody else is old.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair to Scott, the last time he saw his brother, he fell out of a helicopter. So he wasn't expecting him to ever be old.
It was a plane.
You're a plane.
Yeah. And I like that comment of, is that the Brotherhood's Scarlet Witch?
Yeah.
Because she wasn't evil that long, but they pulled him from so early that she's
they
still in the Brotherhood.
Yeah, they recognize her as, because first, they're freaked out by Magneto, but now they're like, wait, we're seeing another villain on a team of good guys.
Well, with Captain America.
Yeah.
Well, that just goes to show you Captain America's a villain.
Well, and that was kind of the one thing where they were like distrusting of Scott. Everything else, it seemed like they were honestly more trusting towards the stuff he was saying because he was telling the truth. It was just, they have Magneto, so he can't be on the right side.
Yeah.
But now he sees, like, they have a supervillain on their team, and spoilers, they're kind of worse than Magneto.
Yeah. Well, Bendis does such a great job of illustrating the hypocrisy of the Avengers in this without outright saying it. But he's basically teeing it all up. And the young X-Men, they are slowly realizing the nuances of what the present is, and that what was sold to them was definitely a lie, and that everything is far more gray than they assumed it to be. Because even young Scott is talking to Alex, and he's like, "Yeah, older me maybe killed Xavier," and Alex is like, "There's no maybe about it. He killed Xavier." And he's like, "Well, that's not how he sees it." Talking about, because Scott doesn't feel like he couldn't control himself during that time, and later they're just straight up like, Wanda couldn't control herself.
I know. The hypocrisy in Cap the whole time is being like, "Don't talk to your brother."
Yeah, just being such
I gave you an order.
Like, there are bigger things going on here. And it's like, you brought him basically to get them to go home. You'd think that he would do that by appealing to their better natures and getting to, like building some sort of camaraderie with his younger brother, who's meeting him for the first time, knowing that he's all right and became a superhero. And not just any superhero, an X-Men and then an Avenger. Like, leading his own team, sort of. Because, you realize, like, really it's Cap barking orders the whole time.
Yeah, we get an image of that, or because we're not going over Uncanny Avengers, but that's basically the whole premise of it. Havoc is supposed to be leading, and here's another instance, because he's trying to lead, and Captain America's yelling from behind.
Yeah, even Wanda and Thor are like, "Hey, guy, chill out. Let him talk to his brother."
Yeah,
like, isn't this why you brought him?
Yeah, he's straight pointing his finger, like, we talked about this.
It's like, no, he brought him so, like, Alex could beat the shit out of Scott and then force him back to his time.
Which I like. He just walks away, Havoc. Like, don't mind him. The yelling old guy in the background.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
And also, Wolverine confronts Cap, which is pretty great. And he's like, "Hey, all things considered, why the fuck did you ground our plane? Like, why did you come at us like this? Because this is pretty ridiculous." And then I love that Cap, his rationale is like, well, there have been bank robberies and everyone's seeing the X-Men. And so the first thing he jumps to is that the X-Men are definitely doing it.
Yeah, and it's not even a logical jump.
No.
With all the shapeshifters and telepaths they know, and him knowing damn well that Wolverine was also described in there. He even says, like, "I know you didn't do it."
Yeah, you're one of the good ones. I'm aware. But these new ones, these new old ones,
and they straight
I don't
up
trust
say,
them. They're shifty.
They straight up say, "Oh, it looked like the original X-Men, but Wolverine was with them." And Cap's like, "Oh, Wolverine, I know you didn't do it. You were described at the scene, but the young X-Men were described at the scene, and I don't trust them."
Yeah, including one that's not even with them anymore.
Yeah, even Wolverine is like,
because Angel's not there.
You're fucking insane. Of course that's not what's happening.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, well, there were complaints. And yes, she said you weren't on the cameras, but, I have to do my due diligence and come and complain at you guys.
This is going to sound weird coming from this podcast, but Cap is definitely written as an asshole in these. Like, more so even than in Avengers vs. X-Men, everything he does, everybody is looking at him like he's being an asshole in this.
Yeah, he's a dick. right before this, though, we had that Jean Grey Scarlet Witch incident, which I
Yeah,
liked.
where she picks up from Scarlet Witch's thoughts that, you know, the whole M-Day thing and her getting rid of mutants and freaking out on the West Coast Avengers, and, you know, she's like, holy shit, you're the reason.
Yeah,
we were thriving and you killed us.
She starts crying. They use that. I like when they do callbacks to the actual images used, and they use the exact image of the No More Mutants. Mm-hmm. And they pretty much fight.
Yeah, and everyone's basically ignoring Jean too. At least all the adults, like her team, are also confused, and she's trying to tell them like frantically, sure, but that like she killed us all. She got rid of the mutants, and she's an Avenger. She's over there. Yep. Like, you're fine with her.
And this whole situation,
and they're all just like, shut up.
She's playing the victim during this whole time. Like,
yeah,
you went into my head without my permission, where her thoughts just screamed it at Jean Grey. Like, Jean Grey wasn't probing in her head; she was projecting it out. And when Jean Grey gets pissed off, she acts like she's the victim.
And it's so great because this is like half the issue, and it's basically just been a conversation. Like, not a lot of action, but it's like so complex going. Like, there's a lot of character development, and you like they show you like Bobby is making a lot of kind of funny comments and stuff, but, you know, oddly enough, breaking the ice. And meanwhile, you know, Beast and Scott, they're not saying a lot, but because their character types are very analytical and they're just sort of chiming in when necessary. Like, it feels great. Like, that all the characters seem like they're behaving the way you would expect them to behave. And it jumps from this conversation to, because they're like, well, obviously it's Mystique. Like, she talked to Scott, and Scott's like, hey, we don't know it's her. She's a mutant. And, like, it's not fair. And they're like, hey, you don't know her.
He
yet.
wants that booty. That's what it is.
I do like that Wolverine's like Slim over here doesn't understand that women lie sometimes.
Yeah. The 16-year-old Scott Summers, he's a little too bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I like that. Actually, Jean was knocking Thor back a couple times. She's like,
oh yeah, she straight up attacks them.
She's a lot stronger than she should be at this age. It was kind of weird though, because when she blasts them all back, Captain America stands his ground with the shield, and Thor goes flying back. I'm like, really though?
Also, Rogue, what's with the sass towards Jean?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you so mad at Jean? She's like, well, and out of control Jean. It's just like a high school reunion.
Yeah. See, there was some bullshit writing, because then Rogue says
Like that
something
accent.
like,
Thanks.
she says some bullshit, something like, how do we even know it's you? Like, you could be Mystique. And it's like, did you not just see her use her powers and beat the shit out of all of you?
I know.
She used a lot of her
I
powers.
know, it's so
She just got
stupid.
yelled at for it.
Yeah.
Were you not here 2 pages ago?
Like, even Rogue is like a little more of an asshole than she should be.
Yeah.
Because the other thing is that this is the X-Men team that's cool with the Avengers. And
Yeah.
they're being assholes to them.
Yeah, because they obviously just don't trust mutants. They converted their own little sector of mutants to like also not trust the other mutants that they were just friends with.
Yeah.
Only the mutants that follow Captain America's orders are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He got awfully pissed when Havoc didn't want to follow his orders for a second.
where you didn't want to, like, because it still bugs me. Like, he's talking to Scott. It's like the whole reason you brought him was to talk sense to his brother. And he's even trying to do that. He's like, I understand why you're here, but why are you still here? Like, you got to go back home. And he's like, Scott's like, there's nothing back there for us. Everything is here. Like, we can't just leave. Like, we have to fix things where they are. So we know going back makes sense. Like, it won't have been for nothing.
Yeah,
So,
if you
but
just
he's technically doing what Cap wanted him to.
Yeah, you can just kick the door down and start barking orders. I mean, if you're Captain America, you'd try that. But
It's kind of the only thing you do.
Havoc knows better than to just start being like, you got to go home, and immediately it's not going to work.
Yeah. And also, like, that's such a weird thing to do because this is, like, your older brother, but at such a young and idealistic age who has no idea what became of you. Like, there's a bond there for sure.
He thinks you were dead, and the whole reason you're asking Havoc is because they share that bond. So let him use that bond. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and also he later refers to that version of Cyclops as Havoc seeing his brother at his best.
Yeah, that's a weird
I
way
was
to
mad
man.
at that. That was a total shit on Cyclops.
Yeah, 16-year-old Cyclops is not the best version of Cyclops.
Yeah, I can see the argument in their, like, yeah, they're wrong, because they're not taking literally any life experience into account. But in terms of like morality, right? He's not affected by any of the realistic bullshit in the world. In fact, the next issue we're going to talk about brings that exact thing up.
Well, yeah, they saw the most ignorant version of Scott Summers. I would argue that the best version of his character was the one who led a country.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's more naive now. He's, I don't know, maybe he's morally better than Captain America right now, which I guess isn't that hard to do.
Yeah, but they just want to shit on the current Scott
that's what
Summers.
it was.
Yeah.
And then he straight up, Jean Grey's freaking out about, Scarlet Witch doing that. And he's like, whoa, we have more important stuff here.
Yeah.
You guys robbed a bank.
Yeah.
Like a few
She
of them.
might have killed all mutants, but there's some money missing.
You robbed Tony Stark, and he's a buddy of mine.
It might seem harsh, but the money's more important than your species.
So while this is happening, and then after they're all like, well, obviously it's Mystique, it shows that they're at the Bank of England, and they're robbing the shit out of that. And Lady Mastermind is like, hey, Sabretooth, you feel like we're not getting the whole story here? Like, don't we have enough money to do whatever we want? Like, they feel like we're making too big of a scene. And this isn't making sense with what Mystique had said. And he's like, that's a weird complaint. And then Mystique, comes out of the bank, and he's like, hey, Mystique, Lady Mastermind doesn't trust you. And she's like, oh, well, thanks for that.
Straight on her immediately.
I was trying to form an alliance, and you just busted that shit wide open. And she's like, oh, you think we're stealing too much money? That's a weird complaint.
Yeah, it's fair, though.
Yeah.
You robbed all of Tony Stark, and you're like, we don't have enough money.
Well, not all of Tony Stark. He's got so much money, but they robbed a big chunk of it. Because I think they established in that issue when she shows up as Pepper Potts that, like, it's only a portion. Like, because he's got so much money, it's in so many different locations that they would just rob that location.
He probably doesn't even notice it. It was like
Probably.
a third, like 3% of his income.
Mutants had to show up for him to notice.
He still doesn't know he's in space.
Yeah.
They're like, maybe he won't notice.
Oh, yeah, I think during this time he's finding out that he's an alien robot test tube baby. Real stupid.
No, I think at this time he's with Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know, that's when that happens.
Oh, I thought that one was after. I thought that was the Bendis run, where he finds out he was an alien test tube baby.
No, I don't think Bendis was that stupid.
Eh.
It was a really dumb arc, but like, because he has his own book going on parallel to the Guardians book where he's in space for both of them.
Either way, he's with the Guardians.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't notice it.
So anyway, she's complaining to Mystique like, hey, seriously, tell me the whole story. What's going on here? Like, you're keeping stuff from me, and that's not cool. And she's like, how about you shut up and let's rob this stuff and make a illusion for us to get away, because we're trying to do that and we're being tailed. So I love that she's like, all right, one monster illusion coming up, and she makes Fin Fang Foom destroying everything, but then also you see that she's still peppered in the X-Men.
Yeah.
They're just like falling next to Fin Fang Foom. Like,
What are they doing? Are they
Also-
fighting Fin Fang Foom or helping?
Also, they gave him underwear. And that was nice to not have the dragon dick slanging around.
oh, man. Dragon Dick.
That's Dragon Balls.
Yeah. What's the sequel?
Yep. So, yeah.
Anyway, it's back to Captain. Well, because technically after this, Captain America like presses the accusing of the X-Men, like, but it was you guys in their thoughts, like they were seeing you. So, I don't fully trust you still. And
Like if you did it in my dream, then I'm gonna hold you accounted for it.
And then Cap's like, all right, well, we're gonna figure this out, and you guys need to go back to school and stay there. Because I know you're one of the good ones, Logan, but I don't trust these younger, idealistic ones.
Tries to put him on house arrest, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, his exact words are, Wolverine, you aren't an Avenger. I trust you and believe you. But these original X-Men show up from the past, and suddenly there's an original X-Men international crime spree. So now there is a large-ranging criminal investigation that revolves around you and your students, and we need to figure out exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, because coincidence? I think not.
Yeah, again, straight up saying, like, yeah, all the descriptions were Wolverine in the original X-Men, but I know we homies, so you didn't do it.
Yeah.
But
You're cool.
them,
Even though they never did that ever in the past.
What could have happened was Scott, right? He's the leader of these children. He meets Mystique. Mystique could have turned into you. And without you paying attention, Mystique pals around with these guys. They're robbing banks, right? Right under your nose.
Yeah, little does Cap know in 2 years he's going to be a Nazi.
Wolverine's like, it wasn't right under my nose. I have super smelling. They were here the whole time.
Except for the one we lost. He's gone.
But I knew he was gone. My nose sensed it. I mean, also I watched it happen. But the nose matters more. So also, wait, now that I'm thinking about that, considering what happens in the next issue, how doesn't he just find the new Xavier school by sniffing out Angel?
I don't
Because
think his nose
it's
works
cold.
as good as what he's.
Air molecules, small molecules don't travel well.
Small molecule?
They don't.
All right, so they're in the Blackbird, and right away Wolverine's like, all right, so we're going to go this way. He's like, that's not the direction of the school. He's like, yeah, me and Cap have an understanding where I do whatever I want, and then he understands.
Yeah, I like that.
And then the X-Men, they're still confused about Wanda. They're talking about, like, so wait, she gets to do all this shit, and then she gets to be an Avenger. Like, and it's sort of like, it's sinking into Cyclops that, like, this isn't right. Like, I'm being persecuted in this way.
There's so
like,
much
I'm being
worse
judged.
people than even the version of Cyclops that they're trying to make up is not as bad as the people they're protecting.
Yeah.
Let alone the real version of Cyclops.
And then it cuts to Mystique and them again, and it's just mountains of money in, like, a warehouse.
Well, real quick before that, I gotta point out the shade that Jean Grey throws to Scarlet Witch, nobody else would know. Because she says, Scarlet Witch says, we're putting together a team of mutants and humans put together specifically to express Xavier's dream that we could work together. And Jean in her head, like, projecting towards her is like, yeah, that makes it better.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's real pissed off about that.
Also, they were real shitty to them because they were like, wait a minute. Like, when Cap's trying to bench them, they're like, wait, this is a mutant problem. Shouldn't mutants handle it? And they're like, well, we're trying this new thing where there aren't any mutant problems.
Yeah, they're really high-roading them on everything.
Yeah. And it's like, they just came from the 60s, man.
Yeah.
They're
all
high.
they know all they know is what Xavier taught him, and he was a bigot. It's crazy that they're so sad that guy got killed.
Yeah, he's a pervert.
He is a pervert. All right, so issue 13 begins with Phoenix Jean Grey. And Wolverine all like, oh, I'm going to have to stab this kid.
Stabby, stabby.
Yeah. And then it cuts to hours before, where they're in the Blackbird, and they're the students, well, the original X-Men, they're upset that Warren's gone, and they're kind of talking about that. And it's a conversation about how they really don't know each other the way they think they know each other, because none of them would have expected Warren to just leave. And Iceman points out, and then, like, Scott, you have a brother? Like, you didn't tell us you had a brother. Like, do we even know each other that well? Like, kind of questioning what their bond even is at this point.
Yeah, he's like, I got a big secret you guys have no idea about. Like, I don't think we really know each other that well.
Well, because didn't they say 6 weeks they've been X-Men?
Yeah, I think they said, is either 6 weeks or 3 months? It was something like that.
But either way, I take that
it's not very long.
But it's like, yeah, you don't know each other that well.
Well, I take that as just active X-Men. I think that they spend a lot more time training together, technically.
Yeah, but they also show in the first X-Men issue that, like, as soon as Jean's on the team, they go out and fight Magneto.
Yeah, so I think they don't know Jean that well.
Yeah, at the very least, they don't know Jean that well. I would suspect that, like, maybe Scott had been there for, like, 6 months, and then they started adding people in. Mm-hmm. But they don't really know each other that way. There's no way they've known each other more than 6 months.
I would actually go, I think maybe the guys know each other for about a year with varying months, and then Jean is probably like a couple months.
Jean knows Professor real well, though.
Yeah.
Wasn't he
too well?
Wasn't he 15 though when Xavier rescued him?
Maybe. Yeah.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it changes. Like, none of it makes sense. None of the math makes sense on any of this. So, you know.
Yeah, you can't do math on a sliding time scale.
So
watch me.
Anyway, so they start questioning their friendship and how well they actually know each other. Yeah. And then Logan goes over to Jean and he's like, hey, so I'm going to need you to learn how to do something you've never done before, because we're going to go somewhere where people want to kill us because they think we robbed them and attacked them. So I need you to make everyone not see us. And she's like, how the fuck do I do that? And he's like, well, you think real hard that everything's normal. And then that's how that works.
You don't think that we're not there. You think that nothing's happening.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what? That scent, he can't follow their scent. Also, I think he's lying because he's about to say how strong his scents are.
Yeah.
But they're
You
teleporting.
have my nose.
They're teleporting, so he can't follow a scent through teleportation or an airplane.
Okay. I guess that makes
If
sense.
they
dogs-
walked all the way there,
Dogs can't follow scents through water.
he
So.
can follow.
But that's weird because when they get there and he's like, I smell Sabretooth, I can find him anywhere now.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
Yeah. Because they fly away constantly.
I like when they get there and Bobby's so confused on finding out who Iron Man was.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody just kind of glossed over it, but he's like, Tony Stark is Iron Man? It's common knowledge, Bobby. He's like, I didn't know that. Where we come from, he was pretending to be his own bodyguard. And you're like, how did that work?
Yeah. Well, I think because Kitty didn't know that.
Was
Right.
she saying how did that? It doesn't
Yeah.
really specify who was saying how
Yeah, I
did
think
that
because he's
work.
talking. I think he's talking to Kitty, because she's the one who's like, yeah, it was common knowledge. Because I mean, they are from two different eras, so
Yeah.
he would have been out by then.
And they really don't like. I think she feels old whenever they're like, Professor Kitty. They're like, don't call me that.
Which
yeah,
was weird. Yeah.
yeah, because then later she says it.
She told Wolverine not to call her
Yeah.
Professor Kitty, and then she's like, "It's Professor Kitty."
It sounds like a porn name.
Oh man. Okay, so anyway, that's one of the things I like about Bendis's writing is that it's so conversational that she's talking to Bobby, but then also responding to something she didn't like Logan saying at the same time. So, like, you can easily imagine that being a more fluid conversation between several people than just random declarations between people. So, they're there in that rubble trying to figure out what's going on, and like, yeah, he picks up Sabretooth scent and all that, and then they cut to Mystique with all the piles of money and Lady Mastermind like, hey, seriously, tell me what the plan is because I'm out of here if you don't tell me. And she's like, oh, all right, peace.
Yeah,
And
later.
she's like,
I'm serious.
wait, never mind. I want to be a part of this, but like, also I am gonna go. And she's like, oh, well, fucking don't. I'll call your bluff if you're gonna bluff.
Right before here, I like that Iceman has been like trying to be important because they're
Yeah.
like, Gene, can you make everybody not see us? He's like, I can make everybody cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because Gene's illusion does fail, and then Iceman throws up a huge ice shield that stops all the bullets from hitting them, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. He's like, see, I did something.
Yeah, he's like, I do stuff. It's not just you guys.
And
It's not-
this
she's not special.
yeah, because it does jump back and forth the perspective of Mystique and what she's doing, and then with this going on. So they're all like, well, what's this money for? And then it turns out that like Sabretooth knew the whole time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so really they were just keeping Lady Mastermind out of the mix because she's the one who's like talking to Sabretooth like, hey, what's going on? Like, I don't think Mystique's telling us everything. And then Sabretooth's like, hey, they're here. Like, so he knew the whole time that they're going to sell it.
Well, but before that,
Or buy, rather.
before Mastermind tries to say that she's gonna leave, that's Mystique watching the Havoc speech.
Yeah, that's right.
Sabretooth didn't like it because he said he was going to hurl.
Yeah, Sabretooth didn't like it.
Which was so funny, just the way he said it. He says, I'm going to hurl from him.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like that, though? Like, not he's going to make me hurl. You're going to hurl from him?
he's like his brother. But
And also, actually, the Young X-Men, they, too, react to that. They're like, wait, so he gave this big old speech before running into us? And
the speech we're talking about is Havoc saying that, like, there shouldn't be a separate thing of, like, between mutants and humans. It should just be, like, they're all humans, and you shouldn't say the M word.
yeah.
Basically, he's trying to, like... A
Make
lot
it
of the
derogatory.
mutants are trying to... and I don't mean, like, sleeping pill version, but before that, they're trying to Cosby it, where their philosophy is, like how... Like, people accuse Bill Cosby of, like, white people... Of, like, being like, white people will like you if you act white. And, he's trying to fit in, like, they're gonna... Like, they'll accept us if we're just them.
Yeah.
If he pretends he's not a mutant, then more humans will like him.
Well, because
like,
he's
don't
learned that
embrace
from
your
Cap.
own culture.
Yeah.
Like, don't ever embrace your own culture. Try to fit in with what they're doing.
It reminds
Yeah.
me of that Jay-Z line where he's like, OJ, like, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay.
Good for you. So yeah, and at one point, I think Kitty is like, "Wait, you knew about this, Logan?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't have time to tell you. Like, if I told you every time a Summers brother gives a speech or some announcement or declaration, I'd get nothing done."
He's like, that made my full-time job.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I did really like the story that Kitty told of when she was younger, before she had her powers, of like falling in love with some kid, and she heard the kid say something anti-Semitic, and like bark back at him that she was Jewish and that that's not the way you should like talk about somebody, and she felt proud of that moment, and that's her like standing in opposition of what Havoc's saying. And I think like especially like the three of us can kind of relate to that because we are mixed, so we've definitely we've had situations where people will say shit about Mexicans not thinking that we're Mexican,
Oh yeah.
and it is like, hey man, fuck you,
Yeah.
like
You
just
fucking
because
racist?
yeah.
It's cool coming from Kitty, too, because she does look like a human.
Yeah.
And you would assume, or I would assume for some reason, that she'd be more, I don't know, not so open. I mean, obviously she's open, but she'd be more leaning towards Alex's side because she is opposed to Cyclops, but she was more agreeing with Cyclops in that, like, being very proud of being a mutant.
Well, that actually, because over time she does switch sides.
Yeah.
So, like, this is like a really telling moment where Havoc and that side is losing her because of like their views and like being so conformist and apologetic in a sense of what they even are.
Yeah. She's saying she'd rather say she's a mutant, so if there's going to be a problem, we're going to have it right now.
And I like the little debate that goes on too between Bobby and Hank. Like they're trying to like, because Hank's like, is it? I understand what he's trying to say, but like, is mutant even derogatory? And then Bobby's like, well, anything's derogatory if you say it with enough derogatory. And he's like, pepperoni.
Yeah,
He
got,
makes like the
this-
grossest, disgusted face, which is so great. But anyway, like those conversations are so dense where they're basically in action, not doing anything, but it's covering so many pages of them just talking and expressing like what their actual characters are.
Yeah. Bobby's been like a good source of the comedic relief, but sometimes they go a little overboard.
Yeah.
Like, because Kitty gives that whole big speech, and then Bobby's response is just like, "You're Jewish?"
Yeah.
As
Well,
if it's, I don't know, it was like pointless. It made him look dumber than he really is.
yeah, but I could also see like I agree with you, but it is kind of funny.
But
Of just like he's that like disconnected to what's going on.
to me, it was like, that was too much. All the other ones I liked, but it seemed like he was trying to be, it was like they were trying to be funny, but it just made him look stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to break the tension or something, or
Yeah, like it was a really serious moment, and it was like, what? How do you upend a really serious moment? It was like, oh, just a little bit of silliness thrown in,
Yeah.
and they're just like, oh, well, Bobby would have to do that, obviously. But anyway, so back with Mystique, it turns out that she's selling, or not selling, buying Madripoor, or at least the control of it from Hydra, because Madame Hydra shows up in Silver Samurai, which I don't know their tie together, like what their connection is. Silver Samurai and Hydra.
nothing
Those
that
are
I
weird.
know of. I don't know if just at this specific time he happens to be working with them.
And Mystique was all very like, all right, Lady Mastermind. Well, she doesn't even call her Lady Mastermind. She just calls her Lady all the time. But she's like, all right, shut up, don't talk. I'm doing all the talking. And it's like almost like she's skittish and scared, but also like not. It's really confusing.
Because I feel like, because she didn't give them any information, but still invited them to the sale.
Yeah.
Just don't invite them. Why are they there? They don't, because they're all like, what's going on? Shut up.
Well, only Lady Mastermind, because like I said,
Yeah.
like Sabretooth knew the whole time, so it just turned out to be that she was in the dark. And then the X-Men, like you said, Jean loses focus, and they notice they're there and immediately start shooting at them, and Bobby does put up the ice shield, but then Scott is like, wait a minute. So they see us and they just start shooting? Like, that's it? And he's like, yeah. Wolverine to Scott is like, yeah, welcome to the real world. Like, this is how it is. So this is that that naiveness that Scott has, sort of being disillusioned of like, this is the real world. This is how you've been treated. So like, imagine you have an entire lifetime of these things happening over and over and over again.
it kind of gives more precedence to that speech they keep replaying from older Scott too.
Yeah.
Saying like, we're going to protect these mutants and we're going to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like he has a huge point in what he's doing.
And I mean, and he even says like to the humans who are supporting us, like we will protect and help you too, but like we gotta make.
At no point is he declaring war on humans.
No.
He is saying if you try to attack us, we will defend ourselves.
Yeah, he's Malcolm Xing it. Whereas like, because everyone like it was always like a comparison that gets drawn between Magneto and Xavier, the whole Malcolm X, Martin Luther King thing.
Yeah.
But in reality, Magneto was never really Malcolm X.
No, he was more like take to the streets and
way
kill them
more
before they
ruthless.
can kill us.
Yeah. Like
That-
he started with trying to create a nuclear holocaust.
I think
Yeah.
they're talking more about that comparison gets drawn when Claremont takes over, because Magneto was just a straight villain when he started.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense. And that is also a time when Magneto's like close to the group but always apart from them.
Yeah, it's when kind of like we read God Loves Man Kills,
Yeah.
kind of like that era.
Right.
Magneto.
So the X-Men show up because apparently Wolverine can smell Sabretooth from so far away, despite Sabretooth and them having flown away, and also he himself being in a jet.
Yeah.
And he could still smell through the jet, through the air, miles and miles and miles away.
He's got a really good nose. he's like the Toucan Sam.
He is. He follows.
In his list of abilities, I wanted to just say Super Sniffer.
I'm sure it does say something like that.
So they show up, and Jean reads their minds what's going on inside the warehouse, and she's like, "Oh, it sounds like she's trying to buy a place called Mandrapore." And then Bobby's all like, "What a what?"
I feel like you're adding an N to it.
You are adding an N in there.
It's Madripoor.
Before we get people
Oh,
writing,
isn't it? Yeah, Mandrapore. I think I am
before
adding
people
that.
start writing in and being so upset.
Yeah, before that one
that
guy gets really
pronunciation.
pissed off. That huge Madripoor fan.
All right.
It's
Well,
me
I-
writing under Sean Gutierrez. I'm like, Madripoor.
Stop saying it like that. And also, it's naivete.
You're just gonna point out every error
that-
I make.
that technically, grammatically, it is naivete, but you're an asshole if you say it like that. So I didn't judge you at all for that one. That was the guy. I was playing a character.
Just saying, I didn't say anything when you said specially instead of especially.
I said especially. My E the E is silent.
All right, so anyway, the X-Men end up crashing. And first Wolverine's all like, "All right, you guys stay here, and Kitty and I will stop this." And they're like, "Well, no, we're gonna go with you." And he's like, "No, you're not." And they're like, "Well, Sabretooth knows you're here." And he's like, "I don't give a shit." And then he jumps into the warehouse, and of course they all follow him because why would they listen to him?
Also, unrelated, but the inking in this book was done by Wade von Grodbagger. And I just have to point that out.
But I thought it was so great because it's like a double page, like splash page of them going into the warehouse, and it looks like every image that Lady Mastermind had set up where they were like covering their own tracks. Like she kept making it like the X-Men were descending on whoever they were robbing, and like this is them literally descending on them breaking up their deal with Hydra.
Yeah, she's probably like, oh shit.
Yeah, fucking irony, right?
Yeah.
And, we're getting to the stabbiness.
Yep. Because so the X-Men crash in and they're fighting, and Hydra's all like, "Fucking, you set us up," and Mystique's all like, "The fuck I did. I hate these guys." And also it's like, "Why are you guys ruining my sale?"
Mystique,
Dicks.
right before that, had a badass line too, because when they're negotiating the whole deal,
Yeah.
Lady Hydra is like, "Oh, why didn't you just disguise yourself and assassinate me?" And she's like, "Well, I could have just took you over and like took over the whole position." She's like, "Well, you could try." She says like, "Well, and the reason I didn't assassinate you was because like I kill you and then there's two more that take your place, right? So what's the point?"
Yeah. And I like the way they drew Lady Hydra too, because she gave this look like, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But also, that's not cool because I want to stay in control. Like, it's that thing where, like, a group of people go to jump a person and they only have, like, one bullet left or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, like, you can't shoot all of us." It's like, "Well, I don't got to shoot all of you. I just got to shoot you." And they're like, "Oh, good point. Everyone back away. That whole thing where like, the leader doesn't want to die.
Yeah,
So
she had that shocked look. She kind of realized like that was the only thing that kept her from dying, basically.
Just somebody would take her place. Because just because Mystique kills her doesn't mean she's going to get Madripoor.
Yeah.
although she did say, "Kill you and then I just take your place," which I mean, technically would work at least for a little while.
Yeah, but Mystique never actually commits on any of this.
No, she always flashes her eyes yellow, fucks it up.
Yeah,
for herself.
at the end of the second X-Men movie, she does that as Senator Kelly, and then just like
to the camera of everyone.
Yeah. Was she like hang out with his family for a couple of months and then disappear? Like she didn't do anything as Kelly.
Yeah,
She did weird things as Kelly, and that's it.
So Lady Mastermind sees Jean, and she's like, "Fucking that bitch who ruined my family because my dad was a villain, and she made him go insane by giving him like infinity brain, basically."
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Puts
she
it
made
out
him go
into the
mad.
cosmos. Yeah.
And so she's like, "What I'm gonna do is make my dad." And like, why would she know who the fuck? Like,
That's Marvel's next major.
That was
event,
like
by
the
way.
bedtime stories that he read to her. Was like what he was doing to Jean Grey this whole time.
yeah. Which also like she shits on her own dad for several issues before this.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "You made my dad crazy." And then
Because he was an asshole, but then he was crazy.
but then in Jean's only reference to who this is through Beast's memories of Jean's life. So she doesn't actually have an attachment to this guy who Lady Mastermind decides to make the illusion of to influence Jean to be like, "It's Phoenix time."
Yeah, they don't really have the connection. It was kind of dumb on Lady Mastermind's part.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I know we covered it, but was Beast around during Dark Phoenix?
I think he was an Avenger at that time.
Yeah, I don't think he was
'Cause don't
there
they-
to even have reference of him.
Yeah,
Don't
a
they
lot
call-
of her life that you see in that splash page that they do doesn't make sense because why would Beast have those perspectives?
Don't they
Well,
call the
I'm-
Avengers and he was there and then he leaves?
That does happen, yeah.
Yeah,
During
well-
because he's there for the whole.
But
combat
I'm
thing.
assuming that, like, yeah, of course he's read through all the files of these events and would know him that way. What I'm saying is, like, not only Jean Grey does Jean Grey not have her attachment towards it, she doesn't even have Beast's attachment towards it from getting his memories of it. Like,
Yeah.
she's like 4 ways removed from this.
Yeah, which actually makes what happens next make more sense.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's implied that Lady Mastermind creates this illusion that she's going Dark Phoenix, and yeah, Wolverine right away
Looks right at the
stabby
stomach.
attack. Yeah, she's like, "I'm looking mighty good right now."
And even young Scott, who has no precedence of seeing it before, is like, I have a feeling this is your thing. You need to chill.
Yeah,
Right? When they first get there, the X-Men show up. I just got to point out, Beast gets tossed like nothing by Mystique.
oh yeah, she straight up judo throws him.
Yeah, because it looks like as if he jumped at her and she just catches his arm and chucks him
Yeah.
away while saying, "You idiots."
Yeah, because they're ruining her purchase, and also they aren't nearly as trained as she is.
Yeah, but I just got to point that out because it's going to...
Oh right, because later
It's going to play into something.
he's got some fucking animanium feet. So issue 14 starts with Wolverine getting real stabby still because he's seeing Jean Grey all Dark Phoenix, and then he goes to do that, and she's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" Like she stops him with her telekinesis, like, "What are you doing?" And he's like,
We're
"You were
bros.
like you were all fiery. This is when I stab you." And she's like, "No, I was projecting that. I was scaring them." And he's like, "Oh." He's like, "Wait,
She
you guys
calls
were
him
seeing
James.
that?"
Like
Yeah.
he's in trouble. She's like, James, what are you doing? I wanted to stab you in the stomach a little bit. I wasn't going to do nothing bad.
Yeah. And then it's basically just a really cool fight going on between the X-Men and Mystique's group and Hydra. And at one weird point, like, Beast calls Sabretooth Papa?
Yeah, he's like, "Wait, you're not my daddy?"
Like,
was
I don't
very
understand
weird.
what's going on.
And so this is why I had to bring that up, because right next to that panel, we got Jean, who straight kicks Mystique in the face. And I'm like, how? You got no powers physically.
Yeah.
And Mystique is catching Beast, who is fast, strong, agile, and takes a straight kick to the face. From
Maybe she just froze her in position and kicked her in the face.
could have, but no. They always show the little things
Yeah.
coming out of the head. No mental powers.
Maybe
Ridiculous.
she's just making her foot fly faster.
Because even then, she's barely been an X-Men, and Mystique is a great hand-to-hand fighter. So
Yeah.
Also, have you seen Five Goes West?
Fuck yeah.
All right, so the way that Beast was saying that, I was in my head thinking Five Goes West, like Papa Five, Papa Five.
Just the fact that he didn't even say dad, he's like an adult. He's like, you're not my daddy. I was like, this is so weird. I don't know if this is sexual or
My
what.
daddy.
It doesn't make any sense. Because it's not like Lady Mastermind created some illusion where he suddenly thought he was fighting his dad or something.
Well, didn't
was
Jean
really
make
weird.
the illusion?
Well, no, because, all right, so that's what I was saying.
I think it was just a reference to the fur. That's as deep as it gets.
I think that Lady Mastermind set up the illusion and that Jean ran with it. Because I think maybe she was like, oh, this is going to intimidate the fuck out of them. And then I think there was some weird thing happening where Lady Mastermind was actually projecting the image to the X-Men, and then she was projecting the image herself to all of Hydra, and so she thought she also projected it to the X-Men.
Oh, okay.
Because they don't really pick that up in issue 14, but it's really obvious that's what she's doing at the end of issue 13. So Jean thinks that she did that. Lady Mastermind then decides to just make Professor Xavier show up out of nowhere.
She's throwing Hail
and
Marys left and right in this.
And
Yeah.
he starts scolding the X-Men, and the
Beast
X
is like, daddy?
and he's all like, "You guys are gonna come back to your time right now. I'm so disappointed in you.
Yeah,
Go
'cause he
get
does
me a
roll- he
Switch."
rolls up.
And they're like, they slowly realize like that doesn't make any sense.
While Beast is doing like some sick beatboxing. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll have to post this picture. But Beast is like has his hand to his
Oh, yeah,
mouth
yeah.
like he's gonna be like.
Well, because he's realizing no one knows that they're there, so it doesn't make any sense that Xavier would suddenly be there in the future.
But he's rapping that line.
And then Wolverine is explaining how it can't possibly be while he takes a bullet in the stomach.
Yeah,
She's like, "How does it feel to be penetrated in the stomach, you bastard?"
basically.
Which doesn't make sense because he's trying to diss Beast's intelligence while he accepts a bullet in the stomach.
They're real smart.
Yeah.
So then Lady Mastermind and Jean start fighting. She's all like, "How is that for illusions?" And
A slice of fried gold.
yeah, and then Jean's all like, "I don't even know your dad." Yeah, so they fight a bit.
So while they're fighting, Silver Samurai is like deflecting one of Cyclops' beams while
Yeah.
Bobby is like on an ice slide. And I point that out because as Bobby's flying through the air and his ice slide is destroyed, he looks like a ghost. Like, he looks like a little ghost there.
Yeah,
He
he was drawn really wiggly.
He can't penetrate Silver Samurai because that's all adamantium, right? The
I
whatever
bet
he's
I
wearing.
guess,
bet
but it's
you
also
could.
shiny, right? So
Polished it up, right?
isn't it like
I don't
Cyclops'
think-
whole thing with the optic blast? They bank off shiny shit for some reason.
Yeah, but-
it's not that it makes sense. It's just that it
Silver
happens.
Samurai having adamantium, I think, is strictly a movie thing.
Is it? I don't know anything about Silver Samurai. All I know is he was
think
drawn.
You would
pretty
think
badass
it's
in
silver.
this.
I'm pretty sure it's silver. I think it's some weird Marvel metal, but it's not adamantium.
Because he can't seem to penetrate, like, even the concussive blast, it's not pushing, it's just, he's blocking it.
Well, all right. So
Repeatedly.
here's my problem with the optic blast thing.
It's a really shiny sword.
This is the dumbest thing about Cyclops, is that he has to wear the ruby quartz because the ruby quartz is the only thing that absorbs and redirects the beam back. But also, so does every shiny thing ever. So couldn't he just wear like some shiny ass blinders or something?
Well, no, because it doesn't
I ass-
redirect it, it lets it go through.
I assume they were just opening up
No,
the ruby
because
quartz.
they've
But I
explained it that it like there are modes to it. That's why he like has a control, like it dials, like it when he hits it, it turns an aperture that opens up, so
Yeah.
it's only sort of covered, so that some of the beam can go through, so you can use it with the visor.
But what you were saying, I assume that they use ruby quartz because it's the only thing shiny and reflective enough that he can see through. Because, like, yeah, he could have, like, some shiny-ass metal, but he's going to be walking around blind.
Sure, but like the Avengers could have just put any random shiny, like they could just put a mirror in front of his face instead of a ruby quartz thing.
But I took it
When
like
he
it
was a
doesn't,
prisoner.
it doesn't bounce back. Whereas
see
I
through
thought
mirrors.
ruby quartz like kind of absorbs it, whereas everything else bounces back.
Yeah, but I mean, considering his powers, it bouncing back at him isn't that big of a deal
It
for
would
him.
overcharge him and he'd explode.
He's done that.
Anybody who's listening, Justin's making a jerking off motion.
He's already almost exploded before by just using his power for too long.
He almost exploded when he saw Jean.
Yeah.
Well,
and then again when he saw Emma while he was dating Jean and thinking of Psylocke.
You think young Cyclops, when he's like saw everything that like old Cyclops has been through, for at least a little bit, he was like, "Man, I'm gonna get so many hot girls. Like this is awesome."
So laid.
It's like Jean and this Emma chick. That's awesome.
He's like, send me back.
And some sailor chick. What?
Yeah.
Letty's Forest.
And who's the
Madeline?
The Asian chick from Iron Fist? Because isn't he
Colleen
with her
Wing,
too?
yeah.
Colleen Wing. Yeah.
I was like, there's a lot of Asian chicks in Iron Fist.
Anyway, so Scott realizes he's not making any headway with Silver Samurai, and that Beast is having a hard time with Sabretooth, so they just switch off. And then Beast is just able to kick swords.
Yeah, blocks the sword with the bottom of his feet.
Yep.
So now we can add that to his repertoire.
Yeah.
He's got adamantium feet.
And then I think the hardest ends up being Silver Samurai. They're not really able to stop, and Jean like rips his mask off, and for some reason that makes Scott able to beat him when he shoots at him. But you'd think it'd be right in his face, but like you said before, it was like right in the chest.
Yeah.
Maybe it bounced off the chest into his face and then keeps shooting around inside of his helmet's shining back.
I did like, so when Mastermind is fighting Jean saying, because Mastermind goes ahead and projects images into Jean, like Scott with Emma and stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, if you're trying to make me mad, you won. And then she's like, the difference between us is you project illusions and I project reality. And then basically gives her all of the fears that she ever actually had. It makes her think they're real. Which was pretty cool, because Jean is way more powerful than just an illusionist.
Yeah. Also telekinesis.
Yeah, she's
like,
more
you think
than-
she'd be able to throw her.
Or put her to sleep.
Essentially,
or
later
anything.
Mastermind is just Chris Angel.
Yeah. Which is how the X-Men win, is Jean just basically starts putting everyone to sleep.
She does, but also they escape when she puts them to sleep.
Yeah, well, Mystique doesn't, but she escapes later anyway. Lady Mastermind doesn't get put to sleep, but she escapes because, well, first, the Avengers show up, but then it turns out to just be a projection of the Avengers so that Lady Mastermind could run away. And after they've realized it was a projection, the actual Avengers show up to start, well, mainly Captain America, to start chastising them for showing up and, doing their job as superheroes after he explicitly told them not to. And there was a great moment where Bobby throws a snowball right at Thor, thinking they're projections, after Kitty and Logan just told him they weren't projections.
Well, because the
And
first
he's like, oh
ones,
shit, they are real.
the first ones were projections when they showed up.
Yeah.
And then they disappear, and then Bobby still doesn't believe it because he's talking shit about him.
Well, he actually, because he's nervous when the projections show up,
Yeah.
right? So he's like, okay, we're so sorry, and all this stuff, like, and then after he realizes those are projections, he's not willing to believe.
Well, and he starts talking shit right after that.
Yeah.
When the projections go in, he's like, yeah, there's no way that the Avengers could do. And then Cap actually shows up and is like, I would love to hear the end of this. And he's like, hey, you're not real. He's like, please don't be real.
And there was more of Iceman being proud of himself, because he ends up like sliding Sabretooth on an ice slide, and he's like, ta-da, looking at everybody. And Jean's making Sabretooth for some reason all whiny as he hits his back, and I thought it was so weird. He's like, ow, owie, ow, ow. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, my back. Even when he just said, oh, my back, I was like, Sabretooth's going to be complaining about his back. But then it's explained that Jean's making him all whiny like that.
Because jokes,
Yeah.
Also, when he realizes that he threw a snowball at the real Thor, the drawing they do of him is terrifying.
Of Thor or Iceman?
Of Iceman.
Oh, yeah. Well, because
It's
he
terrifying.
is like, oh my god. He's kind of mortified.
But he looks more like
But
a
he
ghoul than he does Iceman.
Yeah, he looks like
There's
a
so
ghoul
many
from
monsters.
Fallout.
And
And then,
I think
oddly-
we kind of skipped Lady Mastermind trying to get away.
No, I said it.
Did we?
Because that's
Oh.
why the illusion of the Avengers are brought up, so that she could get away.
But
And
the
then
Professor Kitty
bitch
Pride
smacks
part.
her.
Yeah.
Because she goes, oh, yeah, she's like, Pride? She's like, Professor Kitty.
Yeah. And then Thor, you're talking about like all the monsters.
Yeah.
Iceman looks like ghosts and ghouls, and he's like, you're the weirdest little frost giant I've ever seen.
Which is weird because doesn't he know Iceman?
Yep. Well, you'd think. But it's Thor. Does he really care? He kind of.
I could
deals with
also
his own
easily
shit.
see him calling the original Bobby Drake like some version of an ice giant.
What they did, I think they did a whole
Or
arc.
frost giant.
Yeah, about
He probably
that.
never shows up for meetings, too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Debriefs.
he's. I don't know if you read a lot of Thor, but he's not really a details guy.
He's like, where do you want me to throw this hammer?
He's kind of just looking for nails, you know? Get that hammer.
Well, the weirdest high five. I don't know if you're going to the...
The Summers
Oh,
brother.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Summers
he's
brother.
like-
It was the whitest high five.
He's like, Summers brother high five. He's like, do we do that? And Alex like, no.
They're not good at it.
And then they
That's why
smile,
don't
but
do it.
Cyclops does the weirdest thing because he doesn't just high five him. He like uses his other hand to hold Alex's forearm
Yeah.
to plant it squarely.
And they're way too close for a high five. So there's not like that smack. They're just kind of touching
Well,
forearms
they
and
already,
hands.
and we didn't really talk about this, but in the issue prior, or actually the one before that, when they hug right before the X-Men leave, when Cap's all like, "You're benched," their hug is so close,
Dick to dick.
dick to dick.
It's like one of those
Tips are touching. They're practically docked.
It's like one of those hugs that JD does in Scrubs, where he's like too close. He's like sniffs in too much and like, you smell like lavender and happiness.
It's like Cyclops
Fucking
already
Scrubs reference in like 13 years.
he fails too much. It's like, I'm not doing that again. Last time I missed the high five. So he's got to grab the forearm to make sure there's
He
no
heard
errors.
somebody say, "You look at the elbow," and he's like, "You grab the elbow?"
But then he also did it really slow because you only see the contact. But if that was in real motion, it was a super slow high five, so that he didn't miss.
With somebody with geometry powers, you think he'd be better
Yeah.
at landing a high five?
Yeah.
Maybe it was Alex. The unseen panel, Alex kept missing. So he's like, I'm just gonna hold your forearm, bro.
Or maybe he's just because he's still got that shitty old visor, right? So he probably loses a lot of peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And he just needs to know he's got. Like, I don't want my little brother to think I'm lame. I gotta land this. But basically, yeah, Alex is like, "Good job, being a superhero and all that," while Cap is like, "I told you guys not to."
Yeah, Alex was all backing him up because
Yeah.
they did save the day. They stopped the villains. They did what they were supposed to do. And Captain America's kind of deep down. He's like, damn it.
Yeah.
Job security's gone. They're doing my job for me.
Yeah, and then the humans, the far superior humans, immediately drop the ball on imprisoning a mutant.
Yeah. So the issue ends basically like Mystique is taken to the raft to be a prisoner, and Maria Hill shows up because she had a big problem with her in the first place. Like when Lady Mastermind got broken out of the raft, it's because she impersonated Maria Hill. So now she shows up to like kind of rub it in Mystique's face. Haha, now you're here. But then she escapes because she just dresses up like Maria Hill again.
Yeah.
And leaves.
The last issue, or the last panels that they show for this issue, is Jean Grey sitting on the basketball court at the school. Like she's sitting on the basketball court of the school, like thinking about like all the stuff with the Phoenix. And
Yeah.
my only thought reading that was like, I hope nobody has to leave
Right?
because she's fallen right down.
Or like, okay, depending on what would happen to her, does when the Blackbird comes out, does it open up or down? Because you said she'd fall, but I feel like she'd fall if it went open down.
It doesn't do either. It separates.
Okay, yeah, she'd fall. 'Cause I was just thinking like it'd also be funny if it like opened,
It, like, catapulted
like,
her?
up, and then she just like not even catapulted, was just like did like a barrel roll down the side, but like wasn't expecting it to happen. So she just sort of flops at the edge of it. It would have been fucked up. Like her foot kind of got wedged in between like the actual border of the court and then the panel of the ground coming up. That would suck.
Yeah, that would suck. But yeah, it's just her thinking about turning into Dark Phoenix and shit. And
Yeah. Which you'd think is going to, like, pay off somewhere. And then it doesn't really.
No, not really, no.
She even gets her own solo series, like, a year or two later. And it still doesn't exactly pay off.
I think she was more so thinking of how she made everybody mad.
Yeah.
Because she did say over and over again, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to project that into you, because she was just worried that she almost got stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, she...
Also, I'm glad it didn't pay off. Because we
Yeah.
don't need to see the Phoenix every, like, 2 years.
Yeah.
Even though we saw it in 2 years after this in Secret Wars.
She does keep saying, though, like, she's the only one who saw their life flash before them. Like, she knows what happens more specifically than everyone else. Although we did just say, like, but 4 times removed. But because of that, she feels like she has to be perfect with everything to try to avoid it. Like, there's no way to avoid it if she's not being perfect. But then also she can't be perfect because she's got all this power and, doesn't know how to control it yet. Anyway, that's, like you said, that's where it ends. And then 15 is kind of about nothing and all sorts of stuff at the same time. And the art style changes dramatically, so that's really weird.
Nice cover, though.
They go more into the Scooby-Doo direction that they end up in with, like, the all-new cast of X-Men.
Yeah. So...
Everything's super flat, the drawing.
Yeah.
It looks like cardboard cutouts of people just walking around all stiff.
Yeah, it's all real sharp.
Yeah, it's like Kids Next Door, kind of. Like, it just becomes more of that cartoonish vibe.
Rachel Gray just shows up, and I like to think that she yelled this, because she says, "Good morning, students," as he drops down in fire, but she yelled that shit at the top of her.
Like Robin Williams at the beginning, "Good Morning, Vietnam."
Yeah, exactly.
But also, though, because she's got, like, a piece of the Phoenix, so it is interesting that, like, Jean just had that whole, like, long thought thing of the Phoenix, and then Rachel shows up, and she's, all fiery and what have you.
Yeah.
And then Storm's like, "I got to tell you," and she's like, "Don't tell me shit. I want to shower, and I want to go to bed, and whatever it is can wait."
Yeah,
and
they're
then...
in X-Men right now.
Huh?
They're in X-Men right now. Their X-Men title.
Yeah.
Just X-Men. Which I'm digging her McDonald's uniform she's got going on here.
She does look like she's a McDonald's.
Yeah. And then as she's going to go into the bathroom, Jean's
like,
coming
this
out of the
conversation,
bathroom.
I'm not loving it.
So there's an awkward moment because obviously they're psychics and they both kind of like look at each other and like psychically scan each other and realize who each other are, and then just sort of go about their day. So I like that part. And then it gets kind of weird. Like, Scott's trying to write yet another love letter to Jean.
Yeah, the same one again.
Yeah, but doesn't like it, and so he shoots it away and, like, literally, like, optic blasts it, because that's what you do when you have optic blast powers. You find all the little ways you can use it. I
Lifts his
would.
glasses up.
Yeah.
And destroys the whole office.
You'd think.
Yeah.
Just rips the ceiling off the Xavier Institute.
Then Bobby's like, "Yeah, you showed that piece of paper."
Sorry, the Jean Grey Institute. Yeah,
get it right.
I thought it was going somewhere because she was like, "Oh, yeah, you want to go get something to eat?" He's like, "Just you and me?" I was like, "Yeah, just me and you."
It's like, "Yeah, man, dicks up. Let's go."
Because he does point out, like, the window, and he's like, "Look at my older self, like, making out with our, like, Professor Kitty."
Making out with the girl.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah,
Freaks me out.
All jokes aside, though, I think it was like like when a friend of a friend asks you to hang out, and you're like, "Oh, we don't hang out. We're in the same group, but we don't hang out."
Yeah.
Like, but sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, I want to be more of a friend.
More than just friends.
I want to be ice cream buddies. Let's go. I think if I just made them from my body, you'd think that was weird.
It would be.
You got to add flavor and make it a snow cone.
Well, I don't think Scott would like the flavor he was going to add. It would have been a little
Jesus
salty.
Christ.
So he's mad because he's saying, like, it's cool that, I got a girlfriend, but her, nah.
Yeah, I just can't see it.
My teacher. He's like, "What kind of kid dreams about banging his teacher?"
Yeah. Only all of them, though, to be honest. So they decide that. Meanwhile, Jean and Beast, like, Beast is trying to help her control, like, her telekinesis and expand her powers. And so she's like, "All right, well, I'm going to try something." And he's trying to get her to levitate Logan's motorcycle and stuff. And she actually takes it all apart psychically, or telekinetically, rather. And then it's implied that she plans on putting it all back together while she's concentrating, because Beast even tries to, like, talk to her while it's happening, and she's like, "Shut up." But while she's doing this, Bobby and Scott walk through, and Bobby, like, ruins her concentration, and so it all falls apart. And then Logan comes out, and he's like, "What the fuck did you guys do to my motorcycle? And also, where's my Jeep?" Because, like, Bobby and Scott just took it.
I like how they picked a line that both, like, signifies that he's from the 60s and also that he doesn't know how to talk to women.
Uh-huh.
Like calling her Foxy Lady.
Yeah. And then Wolverine's like, the two of you fix this motorcycle right now. And Beast is like, well, that's not really my thing. Like, I'm a really smart guy, and I do gadgets and stuff, but, like, I'm not, like, a mechanic. And he's like,
a bioengineer.
He's like, I don't care. Fix it. And so...
He just keeps on saying, that's my motorcycle, Hank.
Yeah.
And then Jean has an image of Wolverine from Astonishing X-Men.
And they're just like, all right, you're serious. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
And then Iceman and Scott, they're getting, like, ice cream. Like I said. Like, there's a lot of jumping around.
I was hoping that what would happen in this book, because, like, they're from the 60s, and they were like, oh, like, what should we go do? And I was hoping they would, like, because they are trying to find teenagers and stuff to hang out with.
Roller skating?
I was hoping that they were going to, like, oh, like, have you heard of that thing called the mall? Like, all the they go there, just nobody's fucking there.
Yeah.
He always steals his coat. He
Yeah,
doesn't just take the vehicle. He's got to put on the coat.
Because that's where
weird.
Wolverine keeps his money.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
he
who
learned
does
that.
Who?
Well, Scott does, because he knows that's where the money is now.
But then he acted surprised.
Well,
The first time he did, and this one, Bobby was surprised because Cyclops just had a shit ton of money.
Yeah, he's like...
Cyclops did it with intent
yeah.
to, like, take the money.
Yeah, because Bobby's like, wait a minute. We went out to go get ice cream. We don't have money. I left all my money in our time. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Logan keeps a shit ton of money in all of his coats. So.
I just noticed, too, the girl that starts hitting on Scott does it as soon as he pulls out a wad of cash.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's like, he can get us so much ice cream, you guys.
Yeah, and her line was like, you look like somebody I know, which is like the classic, like, oh, like, I don't really mean that, but, like, let's talk line.
Yeah. But also, he does look exactly like himself, but younger, so
yeah,
there's that. And then Bobby makes it really obvious, but like, yeah, we're mutants, we're superheroes, we got powers, and we do crazy stuff. And this is Cyclops. This is the guy.
He's wanted.
Yeah.
He's wanted.
She's like, by
Dead
me.
over.
Yeah, right.
And then, so also at this time, Beast and Jean are fixing the motorcycle, and Beast is real creepy in his mind, just like, man, she's so pretty.
He's like, yeah,
I remember when I wanted that.
I'm going to need the 20
Still do.
centimeter
Yeah,
wrench,
still
and I
kinda
remember the first time I ever saw you, I just dreamt the kissing your lips, and I'm going to need to put this
Yeah.
part back on this part so we
Lube,
can fix it all.
lubrication.
Yeah, take
It
the
needs
take
lube.
the WD-40 and lubricate this part, and I'll lubricate my penis.
Oh, man, if only I did it back then. Like, so it's this really
Which
weird...
is like an appropriate way to illustrate how a guy actually thinks when he's working on a car.
Kind of. Like, it does make sense that, like, yeah, you could be thinking of two things at the same time that are wildly different. Like, I do that all the time. And so, like, in a way, you want to think Beast is a creep, because he always kind of is a creep. But also, you can tell that that's, like, an involuntary part. Like, because he's thinking about himself when he was younger, because
still a creep,
got... Yes, I know.
That's like saying Professor Xavier, like, doing that stuff. Oh, it's involuntary. He just likes little girls. It's not a creep. He just thinks it.
No. That's not what I'm saying. Because he's not saying, like, I want to do this to her. Is like,
Yeah.
man, I should have been more open with myself when I was younger.
It goes
Well,
without saying, though, because
he was raised
she's
with
so
her.
hot.
I mean, I guess it is kind of like a weird area.
It's a weird gray area.
Because if you think back to, like, oh, I went to high school with that chick, she was so hot, and, like, it's kind of creepy if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But he's saying
I mean,
is
yeah.
so hot right now. That
Well,
like,
no,
could have
it's-
been cut
it's-
out. And
it's-
all the stuff about he should have took the chance when he had it isn't creepy. It was the fact that he was commenting about how hot she is
Yeah.
right now.
Okay, kind of. But I mean, it's almost exactly the same thing Scott did when he first saw her, where he was just like, holy shit, this is her when I fell in love with her. Like, this is that person. So,
It felt a little less creepy for some reason.
Because we're
because it was
biased.
true love.
'Cause
and
we're biased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And also
all
maybe-
because we're biased.
But I don't remember him commenting about how hot she was.
No, not in the moment. Well, okay. There
He didn't
is
say hot,
also-
but he said she's perfect. Like, this is when she was, like, absolutely
Well, that's why words
perfect.
matter.
there is that objective difference,
Just
right?
twisted a tiny bit.
He was like, oh my God, there she is, my true love. She's still beautiful and all this. Like, when I fell in love with her. And then Beast is like, man, I remember when I wanted to tap that. It's like, shit, I should have done something back then. But then I started telling people I was gay. To make a point that backfired. Because then I wasn't sleeping with anybody.
And then Bobby joined me on
Brand.
the Defenders.
Right, but not when he said it. Like, back in the New Mutants.
Yeah, I mean, it
the
was
new
right
X-Men
around
guy.
the time when it was like he said he was gay, and then he started banging Brand.
Well, yeah, and Astonishing of like a year later. Which maybe he just started telling everyone like she had a dick the whole time. It's like, you don't know, she's an alien.
I mean, and he had a date. He had a date that broke up with him because he
Was gay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. She was like, "You're what?" And he's like, "I'm gay. You should know this."
I'm a mutant and gay.
Because you broke up with me. That's right. She did. She broke up with him, and he was like, "Well, I'm gay now." So take that. Yeah. So Jean's weirded out, but like probably even more weird than him having these thoughts is like, she's like, "Oh, you feel this sort of way? Well, then I'm gonna go get with you." But like not blue you. That's creepy.
I don't think it's Jean Grey who does that. I'm pretty sure it's Ditto. Because they draw her with the Ditto eyes.
And then it goes back to Scott and Bobby, and they're not fully believing their story about them being X-Men, even after like Bobby does the whole like he freezes their ice cream. Which, come on, that's what you're gonna do? You're gonna make something already frozen a little more frozen?
I mean, freezer burned it.
Right. Okay. But all right. Say
Also, why do his powers always involve fucking with somebody's food? Like it's always like a drink he like spits in and it's colder.
Right.
Like don't breathe in my fucking drink.
it's like if Jesus was in front of you, and to prove he was Jesus,
he walked on my glass of water.
well, he walked on a puddle. Like the puddle's already on the sidewalk, and it's like it's not really any real difference than walking on the sidewalk, but he's slightly above the sidewalk because he's walking over the puddle.
I'm thinking of like more up to date like Bible miracles, and it's Jesus like I have 2 fish sticks. Now it's 3 fish sticks.
It's just magic trick. He has fish sticks up his sleeve.
He's like doing that trick where you like are pulling it out of your mouth and it's just fish sticks, but it's just him. It's just the point of view, so you can't see it.
Oh man, so Jesus, gay fish, it's crazy. Oh man, his symbol is a fish too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And anyway, suddenly a bunch of cop cars are chasing another car. It's like obvious, like there's criminals in the front car being chased by all the cop cars. And Bobby and Scott are like, all right, well, we'll stop this. And they get all superhero on their ass. And then the girls are like, oh my God, they really are who they said they were, because look at them being superheroes with optic blasts and ice powers. And then Wolverine shows up to ruin that because he's all like, you stole my stuff and my coat and money.
Yeah, he's I'm here to cock block you.
Which I think was included when I said stuff. It was kind of redundant.
Also, he's got like a big, like douchebag belt buckle on. It's like an eagle or something, or like a bat.
It's a bat logo. It's the bat symbol.
Yeah, a Batman.
He's a big fan. They get their numbers though. Those girls.
Yeah.
And the other girl's all pissed, like, oh man.
Well, she's trying to write it on Bobby's hand or whatever, and it's like not writing.
It's excuses.
It's weird.
He was making his hand all moist. He's like, it won't write.
I don't
understand.
Or he's like freezing the pen so the ink's stuck.
I'm like, dude, that she's like, you'll get it from my friend though, right? He's like, for sure.
I like to think that like his hand's just frozen. He's like, write it right here. Oh, it won't write. It write my forearm. He freezes his forearm.
It's like, oh, weird that your pencil lead broke. That's weird.
So yeah, Jean goes to young Hank and is all like, hey, so I read your mind, like not your mind, but older you's mind perving out on me, and I thought that was super hot. And he's like, how dare you invade my privacy? And he's like, and she's like, well, technically I invaded his privacy.
Let me check out what's in your pants. I want to see it before it's blue.
There was no precedence for this whatsoever.
No. But then he's like, it's true, I do want you. And then they like make out. And then it ends with her like going to her room. Well, first she runs into Rachel again, and then that's awkward again.
Yeah. Well, and I hope you like the guy who thinks it's romantic to like recite Shakespeare to you, because that's what you're signing up for.
Well, really, she's just mad at Scott, so she's gonna make out with me.
Yeah, because she goes to her room.
Except she runs away with Scott soon.
And well, cause, she pulls out the wedding invitation that Scott gave her, and is like reflecting on it. So in a way, I feel like this is Jean trying to just change shit.
Yeah.
Like, well, if I end up with Beast, then obviously I'm not with Scott, and obviously that has to change stuff. So things have to be different. I think there's that, but then also like reflecting on, because Beast even says like, you're in love with Scott, Scott's in love with you, there's no room for me in this. And she's like, well, I'm not in love with Scott. And then they make out.
Just like three-way. Yeah.
In a couple years, three ways are going to be huge with like mutants.
Oh my God, man, there have been so many references. in the current books to orgies. It is ridiculous.
It's
Every Friday.
Emphasis on the dick.
yeah. Also, where it says next issue, Battle of the Atom, the lettering's kind of weird, and it looks like it says Battle of the Atom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of space between the A and the T.
But yeah, so we're gonna have the rest of Uncanny up till Battle of the Atom next week.
Yeah,
and then we're getting into Battle of the Atom.
And we'll let you in on that
Oh yeah, that speech.
crazy speech.
Yeah, next week when we're covering the last 3 issues of Uncanny leading up to Battle of the Atom, we'll go over the speech from Uncanny Avengers 5 that Havoc gives.
Yeah.
Alex. His name's Alex.
You know what's funny? I was actually just thinking of this.
Yeah, call him Alex.
That with the X-Men especially, but I feel like with most of the Marvel properties, when we talk about, when we're referencing the characters from, say, like a movie or cartoon, like my first reaction is always to be like their superhero name. But then anytime I'm talking about their comics, my first instinct is actually go by their actual name, because in the comics they're always referred to as their actual name. Like, you know what their superhero name is, but rarely does anyone ever call them that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
I
like
think
this
it just
weird
depends on
duality.
how familiar you feel with the character, because like I don't think I'd ever call Batman Bruce, but I could
No,
see
sure,
why
but you
some
don't read the
people would.
comic.
Yeah.
It also depends on, which we talked about, like what's said in the comic, because Magneto's always called Magneto, so it's super weird to call him Eric.
Yeah,
Well, we've done it a few times.
I feel like they call him Max more than they call him Eric now.
Really?
Yeah, I've been seeing it all the time in the stuff we've been reading. They call him Max constantly.
I can see Xavier doing that.
He's in some of the books we've read.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But like,
Especially in the stuff coming out at the time of this recording with all the Hickman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of Xavier calling Magneto Max.
that's weird. But like, who else was it? Oh, Cyclops and Scott. Scott's quicker.
Yeah, sort of. But, like, think about someone listening to us, right? What would be their frame of reference? I mean, this show probably would be their actual names because, I mean, it's a pretty niche audience. But, like, it's weird because if I think of the X-Men movies, my first instinct isn't to call Cyclops Scott. It's to still refer to him as Cyclops.
I think that's because he doesn't have a character in any of the
He
X-Men
doesn't do
movies.
much. He just yells Gene.
Gene!
Right, I'm just saying, like, I think I was thinking about that and I was like, oh, that's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Like, I'm acutely aware of all these characters intimately because of the comics, but I'm still, like, when I think of them in terms of the cartoons or the movies, am removed enough that, like, I care more about the superhero persona than I do the person. But all the comics is you're very connected with the individual.
You know what's not removed enough is our T-shirts from TeePublic. They should be removed from there and into your home.
Yes, like so many.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah, we have T-shirts, coffee mugs, travel coffee mugs. We have a baby onesie that Justin loves.
Yeah.
He tried to get an adult size, but I don't really have those. So he's on a diet now for it.
If you get a bunch, you can stitch them together and make an adult onesie.
Like a Voltron onesie.
There's
It's
totes.
like 5 baby onesies come together to form one giant baby onesie.
Yeah, it'll make you feel younger but stronger.
Really, it's just a male romper.
But yeah, go check out our Twitter and our Facebook and our Instagram. Everything is at Mex-Men Podcast. That was this issue of Mex-Men. I'm Tony.
I'm Justin.
I'm Devin.
And that's for today.